I want to move to go get a drink, but if I move, she'll wake up. There's another one in the corner lurking. There's a third one in her bed with a very long pink thing. How are we doing, boys and girls? Good evening. Good evening, good evening. Time to do some professional gold spending. A human can live for 2 days without water, you'll be fine. I wasn't after water. Last account. Get it up and running. And spend some gold this evening, I think. That's the plan. Spend some wonga. See if there's any goodies, any cheap deals to be had places. Get the main account logged in. Let's scroll to first set of tunes. I just can't get over how the feedback for Remix is just like piling up, and it's all exactly the same. This does feel like one of those things that Blizzard absolutely can't ignore at this point. It's piling up. Now, there doesn't seem to have been any big-time content creator, really. Okay, maybe this isn't really fair. There are some pretty sizable content creators that have been talking about it in video form so far. But it's something that I think is going to be very difficult for them to ignore at this point. Now, I don't know what the play is, because a redesign of Remix this late in the day isn't going to happen. Watching you flipping, doing all the shenanigans, I'm not feeling inspired. I guess too much boring work. Even if I know where all the gold lies, but I'm still in the usual crafting and auction house stuff. It's like in real life, really. Your flipping is one of those things that is not that dissimilar to investing IRL. It is only really worth doing if you do it at scale. And it should only ever be done with truly disposable income. Whereas crafting, farming is still what should be the bread and butter. That should realistically keep things ticking over. And any things you buy to flip, to resell, to do whatever with, run the risk of never being resold, which is the number one problem. Right, I need to get my ass over to Undermine. Not familiar with the market to go flipping worldwide. Well, I mean, I'm kind of showcasing almost how not to do this by trying to make characters on every single realm from literally the word go. You really should work your way up to that, honestly. But for me, it's more of a... I was making the characters for the purpose of Mechanica farming anyway, and so I was like, well, 2 birds, 1 stone, you know? 2 birds, 1 stone. Now I need to actually ask: do I try kill some rares on these dudes? Maybe I actually try kill some rares on these dudes first. Oh, hang on. We have a slight whoopsie-doo with them not inviting each other. How they should work. Who we got? Swigs. Swigs, thwack. Oh, we got 4-piece set bonuses now. We should absolutely destroy. More than we have ever destroyed before. We're absolutely going to hit harder than Legion Remix. All. My studio lights are making me look an outrageous colour of see-through. There we go. Let's tone those down a bit, shall we, for the evening stream. Yeah, maybe kill a few rares. Take the opportunity to shop for some deals while we're at it. Slowly work through, do a bit of a wombo combo maybe. Kill a couple of rares, farm a few things. I could do it by simply... well, actually, no. Do it this way. We've killed a few things. Quickly see if we can get the 4 main rares. Who do we need? Who do we need? Nitro, Tally. No Nitro, no Tally. In that case, we'll do a little little auction scan. Little auction scan. My Demon Hunter with 5 or 6 Limitless Unbound or whatever it was called was doing a stable 10 mil DPS in heroic dungeons. DPS meters are hyper misrepresentative though. Super misrepresentative. Because it's often based on scaling. Was that doing them solo or was that doing them in a group? Even doing that solo, I would imagine also that Demon Hunters have the advantage of that you do just do absolutely outrageous AoE damage. Demon Hunter is probably one of the classes that scales better in MOP Remix right now because it also specs very heavily into Mastery, I believe, as well, which is one of the only secondary stats that you can really smash through the ceiling. Yeah, it doesn't really change some of the fundamental issues with it. 99 gold for an old school recipe, go on then. 75 gold for a Dragon Isles recipe, go on then. Embroidered deep sea bags. What's the crafting cost on embroidered deep sea bags? With a regional market average of 7,500. I know they're crafted. The regional sale average is still 3,000. They removed all the secondary stats in Remix. Yeah, you get flat percentages on all of the pieces of gear, which makes it highly boring because you're no longer able to stack them. Once you either get 7% and 7% of 2 different, or you get 1 of 15%. So you can only ever stack 1 at the cost of another. Also known as really boring. I'm not going to start buying a bunch of bags. $4,500. We'd probably sell it for double the money. Do we want to double money it? Try and double money it. Blackrock Pauldrons. These are clearly one of those stupid starter set sort of stuff, isn't it? Copper lap bugs. 18k. 18k is still too expensive in my opinion for these. 7K? Outland Engineering, goggles, Sunwell. Gotta be Sunwell, right? Gotta be Sunwell. Here's a question. What are they going to do with Sunwell in the next... Do all 3 of them at 7K apiece? Do I want 3 of them at 7K apiece? We'll spread those around. Why not? Right. Kill some rares first. The puppy moved. Puppy's not really moved. We have just been for a walk and she's just had her supper. So hopefully, everything goes to plan. The puppy will sleep for a while. Although Mrs. Manthias has said she'll come and get the dogs in a bit. So let me go grab a drink quickly. Hang on. Okay, who we got? Tally. We got Tally, we got Thwack, and we got what looks like maybe everybody. Let's try the everybody realm. Swigs, good start. I wonder, you know, what's going to be really funny is this remix stuff is going to be so controversial, or it's kicked up such a stink so far from what I've seen, that I do think it's at the point where Blizzard can't ignore it. But I can't wait for Bellula to turn around and do a video saying that, like, it's all broken. I wonder if he will just not to save face. Because Bellula did a video the other day where he was singing Remix's praise. And it was so clear he hadn't played it. It was so clear. Some of the stuff he was saying was clearly obvious that he just hadn't played it. And he just assumed... He assumed it was just Mop Remix with a twist. And maybe one of his other team had played it a little bit and given him a bit of a brief on it. But the video was so funny because he clearly hadn't played it. So I wonder if that will... You know, whether he'll own up to the fact that he hadn't really played it and do another video talking about it, or whether just ignore it and pretend that nobody noticed. I can't drop combat. My pet's doing pet things somewhere and I can't drop combat. Are we doing Loot Fever? Welcome in. Good evening. Let me get out of combat. No? Hard locked in combat. Great. There we go.
Absolutely no airflow. Perfect day for a race.
It's a sad day today. Lost 2.9 million and $25 in the same moment. 2.9 million and 25 euros in the same moment. What, did you convert some gold to BattleNet balance and put the rest on credit card or something? What happened? What happened? That wouldn't be a sad day though, would it? I lost 2.5 million the other day. I actually did buy the 5th Warbank tab. Converted, pre-ordered, yeah. I'll see if they give me alpha access first. If they give me alpha access, I might think about giving them some money. If they don't give me alpha access, I might stand on my soapbox and complain for another expansion. Do you hear that, Blizz? I'm easily bought. Right. Scan for some deals then on this. Well, Any cheaper runes? How's people's vaults been today, though? Have people been getting some good stuff out the vaults? With it being vault day and all. Get those concentration crafts sold. Take advantage of probably what is one of the last few bountiful weeks of auction house activity before we all start scrapping to sell everything like crazy people. There's got to be some there's not going to be too many more weeks where everything is fruitful. I've systematically liquidated nearly all of my stock of all of my War Within related stuff anyway. As I struggle to believe the prices will go anywhere but down and down quite quickly in my guesstimations. But vaults and some subtle gearing can keep you busy. What we've got going on over here? Flipping Kazgarite Fisher Friends again. Enchanted Lanterns. See, these are a weird one, you know. They're cheap enough that I can probably flip them around on a few realms. I can probably flip them around. We'll have a few of those for now, just to spread them around. We can have up to like literally 80 or so. We can have up to 80 of each individual pet, because we could just put one on every server and not worry about it. So I don't mind those too much, even when they are cheap. A few thousand gold when you sell them. Nothing particularly turning up here. More uncanny gear being shown. Somebody's doing a real number on these. Fair play to them. Good effort, that. Good effort trying to sell these on every single realm. Clever, though. I wish I had the effort to do that. Advanced refrigeration unit. That's a bag, isn't it? 36 slot cooking bag. Oh, yeah, I've seen this before. 17 of them. I think it's crafted, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's crafted. The luxurious silk bag is crafted as well. We'll ignore those. We'll ignore those. I remember Mantheus the Flask Crafter. We did alright off them at the beginning of the expansion, to be honest. Probably a gold cap worth of profit off selling flasks at the beginning of the expansion. It was one of my bigger wins at the beginning of this beginning of the War Within. For me, it kind of like, in a way, it kind of replaced the same vibes as from Dark Moon card crafting from a few expansions back. Flasks were interesting though, because they were one of the only products in the game that took so many knowledge points to get to the point where you could guarantee them, that it actually coincided roughly when people would actually want them as well. Whereas most other markets, there was almost too many knowledge points available I wouldn't say easily, but early. If you min-maxed, you could get your hands on almost too many knowledge points, because you would end up being able to max craft things way before most people actually wanted them. Which was a real sort of weird twist. That you had the ability to supply a market, but there wasn't a market there for it yet. Are we shitting me? Literally no rares up anywhere on these realms? Are we actually all on? Oh, flipping 4 dudes are on the same shard. Yeah, this is a problem now, you know. With so few shards being spun up, it's way too easy to accidentally end up like with 3 or 4 dudes all on the same one, which wasn't a thing last patch, because there was 10 variations of like an English shard being spun up like all the time. Now, not so much. Because whilst I did try and set up my... Why has that happened then? Well, I did try and set up all my dudes to be like 3 or 4 on different shards. That was kind of half relying on a lot of them still being on English, multiple variations of English shards. Like English normal server shards I'm talking about here. Now there's rares popping up. Of course there is. Of course there is. I wonder how many of these this guy's selling. He's clearly very strategically positioned the price of these. Uncanny combatant male legs of the Fire Flash. They're leatherworking, aren't they? If that's leatherworking, I can see exactly what they cost to craft. Hello? BFA. Zandalari, in other words. Uncanny combatant male legs. What this dude is banging out. Banging them out. They're hard work to craft. Jesus. I haven't got the rank 3 version of them, which would take down the quantity of materials needed, but Crag Scale, free. Mist Scale, free. Bloodstained Bones, free. It's literally Expulsum. And the rank 3 version of it takes them from 7 down to 5 down to 3. If I remember correctly. 7 down to 4, maybe. Down to probably 3. So they are literally only 3 Expulsum each. 3 Expulsum each. So this dude is clearly looking at charging like 7,500 gold. Let's call it 7,000 gold for 3 Expulsum. 7,000 gold for 3 Expulsum. I remember back in the day you could make Expulsum for like 500 gold a piece, plus time. The only issue, I think, is that you are unlikely to just sell enough of them, honestly. Like, the sale rate is so tragically bad. I reckon the only sales he's getting is from people like me, that it's popping up on a sniper scan because he's got them listed way below region sale average. Now, that will only work in his favour for so long, because if people do get suckered into buying a few of them, it will actually push the region sale average down. Then it will push his price. You know, the price will slowly diverge close to his 7,600 gold. And when it does, his price then doesn't look attractive anymore. And he might still be left with a bunch. I don't know. It's worth a shot, though, I guess. It's one of those where if you don't know, you don't, if you don't know, don't try, you don't know. Tried the market last year, not good success, left it. Yeah, the converting to Expulsum is what's going to drive you bananas. But somebody maybe it's a one-time thing, right? If you do something in bulk, maybe you craft 100 Expulsum in one go, craft like 30 of them, and just syndicate them across 30 realms and just forget about it. Is also entirely something that could be done. Because it's still safe to say that the crafting cost isn't going to be 7,500 gold. And if you mass craft your Expulsum, what was it? Tailoring braces, and then scrap them. If I remember correctly, just Tide Silver, Tide Spray Linen plus vendor mats, AFK the crafting of them. Yeah, if you mass crafted the Expulsum in one go, you could make 30 of them, spread them out, call it a day. Tailoring or leatherworking, both cheap. Yeah, I vaguely remember that like 400-500 gold per Expulsum was Still good money. Still good money on the Expulsum. So he probably only actually has a crafting cost of like 1,000 gold, 1,500 gold maybe. So 7.5, you're looking at 5k profit, easy, per item. You know, make 30 of them, even make 100 of them in one go. Make 100 of them in one go. By the time you've sold like 20 of them, you've probably made your gold back. I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird one. Good effort, though. Good effort, whoever this is. It's probably, you know, worth trying at least sometime. Just a little bit too much like hard work for me because it's Expulsum, but maybe that's why it might actually be possible. Uh, 250 gold for current expansion PvP recipe. Can't be too difficult to shift that. Frost Wind Gloves. Frost Wind Gloves. Now, why do I think they're Plunderstorm? Not Plunderstorm, flipping hell. Island Expedition. They may or may not be. The price on those is complete BS, though. Somebody's just got suckered into buying one of those recently. We'll ignore them. We didn't get a single rare killed. Maybe let's give these one last go at finding any rares. Tally's been spotted somewhere. It's just faster farming skinning, probably. Farming skinning. To get Expulsum. You get Expulsum via skinning? Is that a thing? 200 braces is around 20 Expulsums. I used to go by the number 1. Like, I used to go from a 1:7 ratio. But if you math it as 1:10, it leaves you a little bit more wiggle room, I suppose. That was probably 1:7 was probably the conversion I used when it was like competitive. I can't believe I remember so much about flipping Expulsum in BFA. Oh, you mean for the gold? Just farm with skinning in the wall within is probably more gold per hour. Yeah, but it's a different level of tedious, isn't it? Doing the full, at least doing the full process for Expulsum is like you are, you know, switching around and you're doing slightly different things. There are some people, much like myself, that are just violently opposed to doing farming. He says as he scours the land for rares, but you know what I mean. Good morning, Derp. How we doing? Welcome in. Good morning, good morning. It's good morning for somebody at least. Just think right now, somebody's having a very good morning. Have we got the full wombo combo here? We got the full 4? We got the full 4 on the go here, look. This must be an RP realm. One of these must be an RP realm. Malorne. Is that an RP realm? That's French, isn't it? I think it's a French realm. Might just mean it's quiet then. At least I think it's a French realm. Imagine having a good morning. My mornings are always fucked because it's the morning and I hate mornings. I'm a little bit like that. I'm definitely not a morning person. Hence why I do not start my stream till 11 a.m. You know, I could stick to like more traditional working hours per se. Start at 9 like the rest of the world. But how about no? I also have the excuse that if I did start my stream at 9 a.m, that's technically like 7 a.m. UK time. The likelihood of any of you lot being alive at 7 a.m. is even less than me being alive at 9 a.m. And considering I only stream for like 3-4 hours at a time usually, you know, that really would be a very early morning stream for a lot of people. You welcome mornings more after 40? Potentially. Potentially. I didn't scan for deals on that round, did I? I killed rares and then logged them off. Whoops. Right, well maybe we'll hope there was no deals there. More farts in my job said after 13 while I'm still waiting. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I've always dealt with, like... Generally, I think I've always dealt with things like stress pretty well. And I don't really get ill all that often. Maybe once a year I'll catch a cold or a flu or something like that, but I don't rarely get ill. And so I tend to think I'm pretty immune to, like, most of the things the world can throw at me. But the one thing that really does get me, if you fuck with my sleep pattern, I am done. I absolutely toast. If I don't get my 8 hours, I am not a nice person. You might have heard Ranthius a few times. He has nothing on me when I'm sleep deprived. I don't care when I get my 8 hours, but I absolutely am having my 8 hours. My regular bedtime is like between 1 and 2. Hence meaning I tend not to get up until about between 9 and 10. Hello, dog. What are we woofing for? Why are we woofing? She's likely to have her evening zooms right now. She's had a power nap. She's had her din-dins in the evening. She's likely to go bananas right now. She's gonna piss off the other dog, look. Yep, she's making Papal reconsider her life decisions. Any rares up? No. No rares up. Alright then. Deal hunting it is. I'm not gonna mess around waiting for rares, that's crazy talk. Let's just try and find something to flip. Eight hours would be nice, even 6 would make me content at the moment. If you're getting less than 6 hours a night, you're doing it wrong. There's no sugarcoating that, you're doing it wrong. Whatever's keeping you awake for 19 hours a day, cut some of it out. You need more than 5 hours sleep. You need 6 absolute minimum. Absolute minimum. Well, that's unnecessarily cheap. 7 gold. 7 gold for a current expansion recipe. Sure. $1,500 gold. I mean, that's the kind of price I'm willing to pay on those pets. 1,500 gold with an Ecodome pet you can only get once a week. Now we're talking. Sleep deprivation has long-lasting negative effects on health. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think some people get into more of a it becomes more of a routine. It's like a routine thing that they just have, you know, because if you can say, oh well, I wake up naturally at this time. Yeah, but that's because you've trained your brain to wake up that early. Go back to sleep for another hour or two, preferably two, at least 90 minutes. Yeah, 5 hours is not healthy. 6 absolute bare minimum. Copper lap bugs. Times a bunch of them. We're seeing these pop up quite frequently at sub 10k now. Quite frequently at sub 10k. Discussion about these earlier was that they could probably go as low as like, 3,000 gold a piece, considering they are just a simple reward for completing a weekly quest. So you can't really categorize it of much higher value than a world quest. But I still think they hold inherent value based upon the fact that I still think they hold more inherent value based upon the fact it's a collectible item, it's a pet, but that only matters if people actually care for them. Maybe we'll just watch the decline of these, and when we start seeing them potentially hit a floor, we'll consider snagging a few of them. Maybe I won't pay too much attention to them at these sorts of prices. Unless they just happen to be like the only one listed on a certain realm. That's the companion, that's the pet. Yeah, look, see, there's not any shortage of even the default companion versions. And then the ones that have been actually converted into encaged pets. Yeah, I still don't know what we're doing with these. I can't decide when is the time to just hoover up a shitload of them and call it a day. Hoover up a shitload of them, slam them in a guild bank vault, forget about them for an expansion. I sleep 6 hours a day and then 12 at the weekends, so it averages out to 8. If only your body worked that way. If only your body worked that way. Would be good if it did. Crafted. I don't want to fuck about with crafted shit really, unless it's an absolute steal. 2 gold for a recipe? Go on then. No way I won't flip a recipe for more than 2 gold. Hand of Eternity. I don't see this popping up all that frequently. What's this? Thorium bar, hardened adamantite bar, Eternium bar, primal might, primal nether, one-handed mace. Way back in Outland. I don't think it's worth 33,000 gold. It's still more than I would like to pay for anything along those lines, but it's another one. Outland recipes, man. Bitch to farm. More copper bugs, look. Sub 10k copper bugs. Few of them. I'm going to find it very hard to not buy up a few of these, just to try my luck with them really, if nothing else. If we lose a bit on them, we lose a bit on them, but when we see them like really cheap, I can't help but feel 6k is kind of like disposable income money. It don't work, it don't work. I don't need to flip many other items to reclaim 6k of profit. So it's worth the risk. Okay, any rares? Swigs? Oh, whoa, 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 hang on. Hang on. Got everything going on over here. Everything cooking. And Sal? Flipping huge wombo combo. Let's grab the default ones first. Sal's a nice cheeky bonus if it's still there at the end of the lap. Oh, why'd you aggro half the world? Son of a... Turns up, doubles the health points of the mob, aggroes half the rest of the world, expects me to do the damage. Son of a Bran. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Flipping Bran's aggro in Season 3 has been wild, by the way. I'm not sure if it is misrepresented pirate software pulling, but it feels like Bran is just pulling things from Africa. We need Slugger? We do. Oh, of course, it's reset day. Of course we need Slugger. Ah, son of a Bran. Sal still up? Should we see if Sal's still up? Could have been nuked by now. No, still grab Sal. Actually, before we do that. Oh, flipping hell. Flipping dumpster there and all. When somebody tags a mob and then rushes off in the undermine, I always just kite the mob in the opposite direction. You waste my time, I'm going to waste yours too. Yeah. That's how we do it. Good evening, Woo. No, don't evade. Pulled him too far. Too far. Alright, well. Stop. Less dots. Less dots. Evade. Now we pick up the dumpster. Yoink. There we go again. We can pull him to the edge, to the corner here, but not further. Repairing? Good luck. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful stuff. Everybody dead. Check for some deals. Oh, I don't know what I did last night, but I definitely, during my 8 hours sleep, slept like, I don't know, like on my arm or something. The left-hand side of my back has felt really weird all day today. It's like one of those getting old things. I don't want any of that business. Oh, where's this? Loads of stuff popping up here. Loads of stuff popping up here. Ombre. 50 gold pet. Mech squirrels. They're too cheap. I don't care about mech squirrels. Copper lap bugs, 20k. Fisher friends. Steel forged, I'm pretty sure is crafted stuff, right? I'm almost convinced it is. 500 gold, I'll figure it out later. Swap blasters, nah. Okay, looked like lots of stuff there, but most of it's junk. This is the deck realm. Somebody with a scribe's going crazy on this realm. The rest of it though is a bit of a Flopposaurus. Nothing going on here. Nothing going on here. Alma Bears, we doing? You see her in the background there. She's going bananas. She's got zooms and she's gone a touch crazy. She's not got a toy or anything in there. She's just lost the plot. Absolutely lost the plot. Oh yeah, that's it. Take it out on the rug. Just absolutely lost the plot. Between the hours of like 7 and 9 every day, she just goes absolutely wild. It must be a like genetics thing. I would imagine I would guess they're hereditary in the wild. This is about the time where they like wake up and go out hunting. Just before dusk sort of thing, I would guess. I don't know. Maybe that's why she goes a little bit cuckoo crazy between these hours. She's adorable, thank you. She's adorable when she's not being an absolute fucking monster. Oh my god, you got a poppy? Welcome in, Hayley. Yeah, we did. She's absolutely cuckoo crazy. Poppy cam's set up. Catching her on the poppy cam right now might be a bit of a challenge. But poppy cam's also set up. Redeem some channel points. Great, I've got 400k points to spend. Oh god. It scares me when people tell me how many channel points they've got. Aha, a Mrs. Manthias also turns up. She won't want to be on any camera. She might steal the puppy right now. Just as Hayley's turned up. Your quote-unquote puppy's 6 months old next week. Oh, it had an accident, didn't it? I hope it's doing alright. I will show you the puppy ever so quickly before it gets stolen. Please hold. Is that what you do? Are you taking all dogs? No. It's absolutely fine. He's doing her zooms right now. You're welcome to her. You're being a fucking terrorist. Right, hang on. Please hold. Where's proper camera? Hang on. Please hold. I'll get her. Taking her collar off. This is Alma. She's a terrorist. She's a little terrorist, aren't you? Aren't you, little bear? A velociraptor, yes. chewing everything. Look. Yes. It's all echoes, look. It's beautiful. I have to go now. She's a Lapland dog, same as my other two. Lapinkoira is the actual name, but yeah, translates to Lapland dog. She's 10 weeks tomorrow. 10 weeks tomorrow. Check Wowhead for changes for remix. Oh, have they published something? Have they? Ooh. Let's have a little looky then. Hang on, please hold. Please hold. Let's move to the next team. Is there a blue post, is there? Major improvements adding more power and more fun to Legion Remix. This has announced major improvements will be coming to Legion Remix next week, adding more speed, power, and fun to the mode. Is this right by Josh, I wonder? Oh, no, wait, hang on. This is straight to the PTR. 7 days ago, 11 minutes ago. Big thanks to everybody that's taken the time to try Legion Remix on the PTR. Based on your feedback, starting next week, we'll be extending our PTR test for an additional week and deploying major improvements with the goal of adding speed, power, and fun to the mode. More details to come soon. The Legion Remix PTR event will end with today's build in order to test our character conversion process, but will return next Tuesday for the additional week of testing. If you don't want your character to be converted, please do not attempt to log into your time runner whilst Legion Remix is down. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so even though the PTR will be up, Remix will be down. Don't try and log into the character if you want to keep your character. Okay. Okay, well, more details to come soon, I guess. Adding more speed, more power, and more fun. Who would have thought it? Who would have thunk it? Maybe they're paying attention to my fantastic art. My absolutely top tier A-class could not be better. Absolutely fantastic paint skill art. Sorry for the flash bang, by the way. Alright, sure. Oh, how do I not miss the sleepless nights? She's been alright so far. She sleeps through the night, and she doesn't really do any business inside, if you know what I mean. But she does have this habit of waking up at like 5 a.m. and being like, right, now I have to go out. That's the only slight frustration. But she goes out, she, you know, does ones, does twos, comes back in and goes back to sleep. Everybody was blasting them from Reddit, Discord, YouTube. It was a feedback fest. Well, I mean, people. What was it? Maria did say, please use the PTR. Come give us feedback. We used the PTR. We gave them feedback. Maybe the other dogs are a good influence on her. I think it definitely helps. Yeah, in some regards, it definitely helps because one dog clearly learns from the others. Yeah. Okay, I guess we will see what these more details to come soon end up being. I mean, it can't be worse than last week's patch notes, right? Literally cannot be less informative than last week's patch notes, where there was clearly significant changes made, but we had to go fish for them. So hopefully we get, you know, if more details are to come soon, let's hope that they are more informative than this. Let's hope. Let's hope, let's hope. Alright, let's go back to being a professional spender. Yeah, I genuinely don't want to know just how many points some people have. 499,000 points is quite a lot, but I know there are people in the millions. Quite literally in the millions. Did I tweet out on Discord, by the way? Oh, did you just link that to me, Mikey? Yeah, okay. Just had one job. Copy end state mop remix. Failed so hard. Good old wowhead comments. Gotta love a good wowhead comment. That said, we had an 11.2.5 PTR build like 43 minutes ago. My PTR is update. Yeah, I was just about to say, I think I can probably do an update myself. Is it going to complain that I'm logged in on about 25 accounts though before it'll do its update? Yeah, can't update whilst World of Warcraft is running. Check it out, Mikey. Let me know if it's worth doing. Right, any rares to kill? Let's have a little looky. Slugger, Tally. Oh, maybe no Tally. Thwack is a lie too. Maybe Thwack is on this dude's home realm. Yeah. Whoa, less dots. Who else we got? Oh, 649 BOEs. Drink. Slugger? Well, at least it, like I said, the feedback has been so definitive on Mop Remix that they basically couldn't ignore it. The problem is the one significant issue for me is the time gating. I cannot see a world in where they can replicate what we had in Mr. Pandaria Remix and simultaneously put time gating in it. Those two are not, what's the word, synonymous. You can't have infinitely scaling power and time gating. If you're going to gate me in some form of progression, that's going to gate me in all forms of progression. We're talking about just getting silly OP. Especially since item level power and like threads or mementos or infinite power, you're only as powerful as the lowest common denominator. So in Mop Remix even, you weren't really powerful. It doesn't matter how many flipping threads you farmed, you weren't powerful until you also had the item level to go with it. And vice versa, if you blasted your item level somehow magically to really high limits, but then had like no threads, you were still powerful, but you weren't like top tier powerful. You needed both power systems to grow equally. You were only ever as strong as the lowest one, which is why I worry so much about the time gating in Legion, that if they cap your item level progression on a 2 weekly basis, you are only ever going to be as powerful as that item level really allows you to be. But we'll see what they do. It's a shame it had to come to lots of complaining. Justified complaining, might I add, though. Yeah. Well, Mikey reminded me of this. I already knew this, but like the the guy that was heavily responsible for both Plunderstorm and Mr. Pandaria Remix left recently. So, what was his baby has been clearly handed over to somebody else who may have a very clearly different vision of it. Not to mention, we don't know how many people less publicly significant might also have left at the same time. This does tend to be a thing, that when one person leaves, they will often, if they leave on their own accord and are not asked to leave, or had it made suggested that maybe we could help you leave, when people leave of their own accord, there's often a very strong likelihood that they take people with them. So there's a strong chance that that had quite some negative impact on the development of Legion Remix. But, you know, it's if it ends up being a blast again, it's a win for consistent feedback. That's exactly what we want to see. It's a win for consistent feedback. You know, when enough people stand on their soapbox and tell Blizzard that something they're doing is not what the player base wants, when enough people do it and enough people say it, stuff happens. Almost regardless to how stubborn Blizzard will be. Yeah, to be fair, all they did really need was Control C, Control V. Just, we wanted to play the same game on a different map, but they didn't have to fuck about with it. But if you log on, your Time Runner Toon is at level 80. It ends up by Chromie with 467 item level gear. It's literally the Mist of Pandaria conversion boost. Oh, that's funny. Does it still end up being level 80 though? Does it still stay as being level 80? Level 80 with 467 gears, kind of amusing. Good luck being useful in 467 gear at level 80. Love the multi-box level 20 twink quote-unquote exploit. Yeah, there's unlikely to be much of that going on this time. I was always very suspicious of that from the word go. That always felt like something was... It always felt like it was what's the word? It was the result of something that probably shouldn't have happened in the first place, but it was so deeply nestled into the entire system that there probably wasn't much they could have done about it at the time. So chose to just kind of let it fly. But could also be why they've been so aggressive with making sure that low-level characters are not overpowered this time. They've kind of swung the pendulum in the complete opposite direction this time, which is definitely part of the feedback that's been given. That it does really feel like the pendulum has been swung too far in the other direction. So much so that you are an absolute wet fish until you get to about level 25. Once by the time you've had a few levels in the you can't pick up jewelry until you're level 20. And if you can't pick up jewelry until you're level 20, it could take you a couple of levels to get like a necklace, 2 trinkets, 2 rings. So it's really until about level 25. You are just a wet fish until 25. Sleet Guard Great Belt. I bought one a few, like for 7k not so long ago. And now another one is turned up at 6,500 gold. Am I being sucker punched here? It is a belt after all. It's the one that's got a skull on it, hasn't it? We'll shift those about. 75 gold recipes. I find it hard to not buy these. You might have noticed by now. Yielding bows. We're not playing this silly game. Whoa! Look at the regional market average on these now. It's rising. The regional sale rate average of 95,000 gold. There's some shenanigans going on this for sure. That means there'll be about 20 times as many of them on the market next few days. Is another one, look. Then, boom, Argent Dawn. Have some of everything. Brackenhide Null Guard. Straight up random ass cosmetic. Shield. I think I've bought a few of these already, you know. Not overly enthused about buying too many of these, but straight cosmetics. How many are there? Yeah, this is why I'm not that bothered about buying too many of them. Something tells me they're expensive, but they're also too easy to farm. I know it's Argent Dawn and it's flipping Studenville, but something tells me they're too easy to get. Or there's a big old stock of them somewhere. Wall Guardian's long rifle. Legit, I've never heard that. Do I have... I have the appearance for that, though. 12,500 gold doesn't seem like too much of a deal, but... yeah, we've got to spend some gold. 21,000 gold. Okay, that's interesting. The cheapest these have got down to is 21,000 gold, even on a big server. So the 5 to 10k ones you can pick up might be worth it. Rage Steel, that's crafted. Replica, we avoid. Vitriotic Inch Shifter. Yeah, see, they're getting sub 10k. Toy World Shrinker. Too cheap. Not enough profit on those, even if we flip them. Wow. Weirdly, a lot of choice, but not really anything I actually want on Argent Dawn today. What's this? We're within 1125 dev notes. Oh, is there more info, is there? Hang on, please hold. Well, hang on, one thing at a time. Let me. Oh no, that was the last realm. Right, log you lot out. Next team. Oh no, that's the site. Yeah. We looked at that a minute ago. At least something's happening. No, I appreciate the heads up. We looked at that a little minute ago. Far too many wannabe goal makers on Argent Dawn for a server. Prices are all over the place. So it's no biggie. No rares? My god. No rares. Right, sure, we'll go straight into deal hunting then. I just utilize realms like Argent Dawn as places just to buy a bunch of stuff, and I just transfer it via the warbank to other places. Wherever it can be sold at a nice markup. It can live on another realm somewhere for a while. BlackRock is also clearly quite a big server. I think I've bought quite a few things off BlackRock as well, but I also think I've sold a fair few things on BlackRock. You can tell the bigger servers because the sniper scan takes longer to happen. Like, it's really slow, look. BlackRock's the top left one, by the way. Here we go, it's starting to come through now. More like I'll farm some low-level transmog and then I'll be rich. Kinda. Wow. Big one. Is that the tier 3 version of that? Is that the 30-day craft one? For 25k? I know these are crafted. These old school reborn ones, there's a different appearance for each different version of them. It's a different appearance for each of the... Yeah, I know they're crafted, but there's 3 different tiers of them, and the top tier one requires both of the previous tier 1s before it, and it takes like 30 days to craft even one of them, which obviously is not so much of a problem if you set up a shitload of blacksmiths and get the recipes, but I still can't help but think that 25k is not bad on those. But the fact I would have to buy 2 even to just reset the price on this realm, maybe if they were 10k. There isn't going to be much wiggle room on price on those. Because obviously they do have a distinct cost to them. Gore-stained hatchet. Probably a bait, but it's 300 gold. We don't question for 300 gold. Nothing. Walking Staff of the Enlightened. Oh, that's a straight cosmetic. Never difficult to shift one of those. Okay. Not too much going on those realms. Set price of 55k on most servers. Yeah, that screams of somebody that just has a lot of characters that all have blacksmithing. Screams of somebody's operation, doesn't it? I like these clever little things, though. I like the fact that there are clearly people out there that lurk in the shadows that have these weird and wacky setups that just kind of have a market to themselves. And like, apart from when I accidentally stumble on it and spill the beans, but like, people have their own little markets that, you know, they probably have scaled up something and have syndicated it across a bunch of realms, and you know they've put a bit of time and effort into getting it all set up, and it probably is some nice passive income. you know, is never going to be a get rich quick scheme, but you know, it's just subtle, something else in the background sort of stuff. I like that. I like that. Which is hence why I try not to make too much of a big thing of it when I clearly spot something in that avenue. Because obviously, I'm not one to, you know, steamroll into somebody else's market. And here I'm thinking, I wonder how long it takes to log each crafter. Well, I mean, if you have a setup similar to mine, there's absolutely nothing to say that I couldn't give blacksmithing to every one of these characters and just log on and press a living steel button every day, you know? There's I have wondered about these characters that sit on all the different realms, what professions to give them. A lot of them have 2 open profession slots deliberately because I haven't really thought in too much detail what I want to do with them. I would probably be more inclined to go more meta slaving with them. I mean, for example, it's a bit ludicrous that I haven't given them all enchanting, honestly, considering I log on every character almost every day, never mind every few days. I could craft a few enchants without much stress on every single one. The only reason I don't is because of pure laziness of setting it up. But with the infrastructure there to begin with, dipping into the war within, dipping into midnight, sorry, we have options. Most people, including myself, don't have a setup like yourself. No, I'm very aware I sit in a kind of a weird position. There really isn't that many people out there that have, you know, it's not uncommon to have 2 accounts these days. But it is quite uncommon to still have like 3, 4, 5 of them. You know, they're going to guard it like a rabid dog if you try and muscle into it as well. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's because they can put focus on it, right? You know, they'll see somebody coming from a mile off, and it's easy enough for them to just change a quick setting in their TSM and just nuke the price into the ground for 5 minutes to tell the competition to do one. A market that actually makes gold is a very well protected market in most cases. This is why none of this stuff you'll ever see on like flipping WoW economy subreddit or something. People are doing this sort of shenanigans, they tend to keep it to themselves. There's a guy who controls the water walking horseshoes. He posts walls of them to scare literally everybody off the market. It's the way to do it. It's the way to do it. Walling off markets is such an outrageously powerful tactic. And often it doesn't cost much to do it either. In the grand scheme of things, anyway. There are people that go after all sorts of weird and wacky things and then just won't, like, craft 10,000 of them and just monopolize the shit out of it. I find it really fun to find these little crazy setups. Damage necklaces are easy to spin because people often want a bunch of them at once. Nothing there. Polished spear of some random. It's too cheap. Too cheap of a flip. I don't want to get too cheaper stuff, really. It's got to be crafted. No shot that isn't crafted. Yeah, it's in my crafted group already. It's another one of those. You can probably craft it for less than that still. But it's also something that would get listed on a random ass realm. 50k and I've 10x'd my money. I'm still sitting on a market on the biggest server on the EU that I'm alone. It's been almost the entire The War Within and barely anybody has showed their face there. And yes, I am making sales. It's one of those, isn't it? That once you've got it, and once you've got a bit of a stranglehold on it, it's weirdly easy to keep people out of it. And I would also go as far as to say, like, there are so many people these days that are just completely and 100% put off crafting. Decor is going to be really interesting to watch, you know, because there are so many people that have clearly been so turned off crafting in any way, shape, or form since Dragonflight that there are even people just like hardcore ignoring even like last expansion or Shadowlands stuff. Like, I am pretty convinced. Now, okay, I'm going to give away one of the things I thought about doing quite recently, just for the sake of discussion here. But I genuinely considered going back and seriously crafting Shadowlands legendaries. Like, seriously crafting Shadowlands legendaries. I am finding it so easy to sell Shadowlands base items still that it scares me. It scares me just so easy how easy they are to sell. And I don't know if it's because they are an absolute chore to make still. Oh, hang on, I didn't check for deals on this round, did I? I don't know if it's because they're an absolute fucking chore to make still, and so people just 100% can't be bothered. Or whether it's by proxy of the fact that just everybody's moved on and now absolutely nobody gives a damn about them. But I've made so many sales because I had a guild bank that was full of like half of them still. And so I've just syndicated them out and I've ended up selling most of them like really quickly, really easily. So I mean, obviously if somebody else is already doing such, I apologize for doxing your gold making opportunity, but I weirdly still think that Shadowlands Legendaries has a lot of profit in it. Probably for some people more profit in it today than it did back in Shadowlands. Shadowlands Legendaries are still selling well and not just rank 1s, though I have no idea why anybody buys the other ranks. Well, mostly because people probably should have them in a TSM group set as base, so people just buy the cheapest. Legion Legos sell too. Oh yeah, the crafted Legion. Yeah, they probably do, don't they? Yeah, I bet they do. Aren't Legion they're time walking gear, aren't they? There's a couple of the Legion legendaries, crafted Legion legendaries that are popular in like time walking sets or speed sets, maybe something along those lines. Furniture market will be brutal for the first few months. Oh, probably. This is from the patch. That's some spicy numbers. 121 million in. 121 million in. Damn. I'm going to guess you've sold all of your thaumaturgy stuff then. On top of clearly a lot else. Bought more. I didn't see a huge amount of profit from my thaumaturgy experiment, honestly. Makes me think that I probably bought my materials too late. Or maybe because I knew I should have done like a second layer of, I knew I should have bought a second layer of like prospecting, especially. I think if I'd done a second layer of prospecting, I'd have probably made bank. I profited 10% ish, but I really did think I would squeeze more out of it. But the ultimate thing for me was that it was a completely done in the background process while I was playing season 3 on my main. So it was still 10% profit on about 10 million gold investment. Still made me a million gold. You know, ultimately, in my eyes, basically for free. I have, though, since spent it on buying the stupid 5th tab in the war bank. So that was 2.5 million in the bin. Oh, this dude. This is a... this is the dude you buy with a shitload of Dragonflight points. What were they called? $2K still feels cheap. Bunch of nothing on them realms. Absolute stinky bunch of nothings. Bought at 6 gold-ish, but did the full process, otherwise there's small profit. I don't think I paid much more than 6. I think I maybe paid 7 for my leather. So maybe in maybe that's where my profit margin went, that I maybe did pay a little bit too much for the leather. That's just reminded me. I need to do something. Please hold. Man's timers. Off. Alright, let's just invite you. Scan for some deals. Seems odd doing this on a Wednesday evening, but because I don't do it's so odd for me because I don't do huge amounts of crafting anymore. I seem to find myself having way more free time on a reset day because I'm not frantically trying to sell things on the auction house, fighting in a cancel scan war. I seem to have disposable free time on the busier days. Kind of nice, you know. Will the starting item level squish impact speed sets more than usual? Oh lord, I have no idea. All I can say is whenever there is a item level or stat squish or either or, everything is completely busted for a while. Which means whatever the meta is today, the meta for that sort of stuff, yes, will change. Whether it ends up being more broken or less broken is kind of difficult to determine. But it will change. That's all I can confirm. This sort of stuff does tend to go a little bit wacky. Preserved blue dragon scale. Yeah, I don't want any of them. Some real cheap wormhole generators. Are we at that point in the expansion now where people are just kind of cleaning out and getting rid of stuff? I've started to notice like more wackadoodle things being listed. You can always kind of tell when there's somebody on a server that's cleaning out an old guild bank or cleaning out their, you know, their warband bank or something. Out of nowhere, you'll have like one realm that just has an entire expansion's worth of crafted goods listed on it. I've stopped doing my auction house chores in Classic, and now I have like 5 more hours of free time. This is it. This is it. As soon as you cut out the task list. Hang on, there's a few rares to kill here. Let's get a few rares killed. Thwack and Nitro. While we're here. Let's start. Oh my god, he went from like 70% health to 1% health in like a second. A rare at least. It's also kind of refreshing being back, like, dare I say these words, but it's kind of refreshing being back in the Undermine, just casually killing rares. But this time I'm in no way, shape or form really giving a damn about how many I kill. Like, if they're up, I'll kill them, and if they're not up, I move on. I don't think I could treat it any more casually if I tried. But it's also nice to know that, like, you know, there'll be a relatively steady supply of Mechanicas filtering in, and as and when I can grab a pet or a mount, flip it. It's just kind of in the category of bonus wins now, which is nice. Not tracking stuff, not taking it too seriously, just, you know, keeping it ticking over. Late stream, the wife out? No. I try to do an evening stream on at least a Wednesday, mostly based upon the fact that there's an entire half of the globe that I never get to say hello to because I only ever stream in the in my time, what is the morning. So it's sometimes nice to switch it up a little bit on a Wednesday. A lot of people are playing on reset day. Well, I mean, obviously Team NA reset day was yesterday, but you know, those people that do creative things with their life, like have jobs or study or have family or friends or something that don't catch the regular streams. The hell is that? Don't know. It's one of those funny kind of like random item level, kind of probably has a different appearance kind of things. Or it could be complete rubbish, but for 250 gold, I don't care. I'll figure it out later. If I put it in the bin eventually, I'll put it in the bin. Nothing else there really appeals to me. What the Christ is the region market average on that? Jesus. Talk about spiraling out of control. Sheesh. 3.6 mil? I think so. Snowbell, how we doing? Welcome in. Good evening. All's good, all's good. Doing some professional spending this evening. Not selling so much, but hunting for some deals. Hunting for some deals, killing some rares occasionally, where they happen to spawn. Move, you silly dinosaur butt. I also notice as well on the Wednesday stream, I often get a lot more questions about what the hell it is I'm doing. Because that's a clear indication that people don't get the opportunity to catch too many of the regular streams. So maybe I should actually sort of take 30 seconds to explain it in a little bit more detail. Yes, we're in the Undermine still. But the concept here is that with having, hopefully, 5 different characters sat on 5 different servers, it should give me an easier time finding the rare on whichever server it's spawned on. Now, killing the rares gives the chance of miscellaneous mechanicas, but these dudes chilling near the hotel are close enough to Tally, to Swigs, to Nitro, and to Thwack. Close enough to those 4 rares to be able to gain loot from me just flying around killing them. So even though these dudes aren't actually looting, any goodies that drops from these rares will go to these fellas' main mailboxes. So they can kind of lurk in and around the hotel, and it just amplifies my chances at getting Mechanica, miscellaneous Mechanica. Which, even to this day, are worth basically 37,000 gold each. So, if you can get your hands on a few of them a day, it's a nice little passive side hustle. Well, it's not really side hustle, nor is it passive, but because it takes 5 accounts and an absolute metric ton of max level characters to do it. But if you have all of that in place already, it's a nice little learner. Haven't seen you so much active on YouTube. Was afraid our favourite goblin might have quit the game. No, this is my YouTube game is bad. We stream every day on YouTube, obviously. The live streams are still here on YouTube, but in terms of short form video stuff, it's kind of it's a snowball effect, unfortunately. Being that the longer I don't post for, the harder it is to post. Because I kind of think that a video randomly turning up now absolutely better be a good one. If that makes sense. So there's a weird part of me that's kind of waiting for Midnight Alpha stuff to talk about. That's when we'll switch it on again. I need to, and I've been talking about doing this for a long time, but still haven't, because unfortunately I really like streaming. I really like sitting, playing the game, chatting with you guys. More so than anything else, that you guys teach me an absolute metric shit ton about the game. So I feel as if it's a bit more of a fair trade, if that makes sense. But I've been meaning for a while to actually take the stream from 5 days down to 3 days on Twitch and on YouTube, I suppose. We stream in both places. So that I can then take 2 days of the week to say, right, do some YouTube shit, you know, do some proper creator stuff. I have the itch to do it, but it's I need the itch to be. I need I have the itch to make the content, but I don't feel I have the content to make it on, if that makes sense. It doesn't help that they're basically doing nothing with the professions ever right now. Chop buttercup. Yeah, I know, I gotta get going. We gotta get on it. View on Midnight, especially from a goal making perspective. Super early to say. Super early to say. There's no doubt that housing will be a really good opportunity. Now, a good opportunity doesn't necessarily mean it will be super profitable, but there will absolutely be a thriving market around decor. There is no doubt you will be able to sell a lot of decor stuff. The question is if it's all listed on the region-wide auction houses, will you actually be able to make any profit on doing it? Don't know yet. We don't know. Sell the shovels, maybe. Yeah. We'll have to see just how that plays. I mean, obviously I know that's not strictly Midnight related stuff, but there's rumours and there's suspicions afoot that they might try and simplify the crafting system more so than it is right now, due to many threads, many comments, many tweets, many videos basically saying the profession system is just too complicated for most people to care about. Doesn't really matter that the people that do enjoy it, because the problem is everybody has to integrate themselves with the crafting system in somewhat shape or form. Because even if you're not leveling up your crafting professions, you're still trying to get your gear crafted, because it's part of the, it's part of the gearing curve these days, which is nice. That's really good for crafters, but it means everybody has to know at least some and has to be doing some integrating with the crafting system, and most people don't like it. Meaning that Blizzard are clearly incentivized to change it for the better, even if for the better means that it's maybe not as fun for those who are on the other side actually doing half of the crafting most of the time. It's clearly a bit of a fine line. something needs to be done anyway. Fucking loads of those. That's the cheapest I've seen them. Nah, make it more complicated. Thaumaturgy was goated. I do agree Thaumaturgy was a stroke of genius almost. I think it's done a really good job of keeping the supply of materials in check, more so than anything else. Considering it's a destructive process, and by destructive process I mean that every time you press the Thaumaturgy button, you take 20 materials and you turn it into 10. So every time somebody is thaumaturgizing something, it's deleting, literally straight up deleting 50% of those materials. Which is having the effect overall of keeping the total quantity of materials at a reasonable number. We're not getting this weird scenario like we've had in past expansions where some things just inflate. Often things like basic cloth and basic leather end up piling up so goddamn high that it ends up being worth like a silver a piece, and people just sell it at absolutely whatever the hell they can get it for. There are still some things like that, namely anything that can't go through the alchemy mill. So sort of like the rare leathers, for example, are worth like pennies because they've stacked up and up and up and up and up. But look at things like the fun one for me is cloth this expansion. Cloth has been bananas this expansion. What do we think about cloth being only farmed by tailors? Do we like the fact that it gives people an opportunity to spin up a tailor and go spam some follower dungeons? Are we happy that cloth is basically 25 gold a piece expansion wide? There's been some interesting knock-on effects of having only tailors gathering cloth. Now, I guess you also need to add on to the fact that there's some weird shenanigans with farming mats in general right now. What many consider a bug with the loot drops, with loot dropping after like a few minutes. Has almost killed 2x4 farming dead, at least for the purpose of getting materials anyway. It semi-exists for the purpose of farming market research, but market research is clearly sat on a separate loot table to materials and everything else. Bring back Shadowlands legendary crafting. Woof, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. While I don't really want to see Shadowlands legendaries come back again, I would like to see 20% margins come back again though. I don't care what I'm crafting, but I almost refuse to fight over single digit margins. Fighting over single digit margins is far too much like hard work. Unless I can do it at such a ludicrous scale that I can still open a mailbox and make 5 million gold a day. The low single digit margins that we've now had for 2 expansions in a row just do not fill me with excitement anymore. I'd rather do something slightly more left field, slightly more out there, slightly more not so easily replicated by every man and his dog. Hence doing exactly what I'm doing now. Scanning every single server in the entire EU for deals and just sort of doing auction house busy work. Even if they bring them back, they won't work again. Same thing never works twice in a row. It's true. It's true. This is why the meta changes every single expansion. Which leads me on to an interesting point of I really do wonder what will happen to concentration next expansion. I don't think they're going to get rid of concentration, but I do think they'll be more careful about balancing the amount of materials so that concentration isn't so meta. Enchanting concentration, especially, isn't so meta. Whoa, okay. What's going on here? How's somebody got so many recipes and has chosen to list them all at 75 gold apiece? I mean, you might as well put them in... They vendor for 50 gold apiece. You might as well put them in the bin at that point. That was quite a haul of recipes, wasn't it? That's my point. Crafting should be more focused on niche products. I think, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I personally think, though, crafting should be more focused on crafting. And what I mean by that is that I'm not really so much of a fan of crafters pressing 3 buttons. The work order system seems to put 80% of the effort on the shoulders of not the crafter. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the work orders in general, but I still think that crafters should be doing more of the work, because they're the people that have taken the time and the effort to level up the profession. They're the people that clearly know an awful lot more about what materials are needed and what materials are not needed. They're clearly the ones that know significantly more about the market rates for certain items and what's in demand and what's not. I think crafters should be allowed to actually be crafters. Pay attention to their material prices, maybe gather those materials. And by gather, I don't mean actually go out and pick them up, but like acquire them via the auction house at best rates throughout the week, so that reset day they can fill orders at a 20% margin, for example, against the market rate for any given craft. I think crafters should be allowed to actually do more of the crafting stuff. As it stands at the moment, it's hard to argue against the people that say, oh, well, crafters just press 3 buttons. Accept order, craft, send order, done, boom. Everything that a crafter has to do to be able to press those 3 buttons is front loaded, but soon as the very second they have those 3 buttons, they can press those 3 buttons as many times as they like. It's a bit of a gross argument, but it's not a false one, in my opinion. And it would make a lot more sense if crafters were able to take more control of the crafting. As crazy as it sounds, let crafters do crafter things. Graceful Cosmic Ray Pop. That has to be an Ecodome pet, surely. I guess I'll find out in a minute. Black Fuse Bombling? Why is there a couple of these randomly at cheap prices? Go on then. Eye of Inquisition. Another pet on the cheap. Never really complain about cheap pets, honestly. As long as they're not brand new and crashing in price. Enchant Boot. Oh, Formula Enchant Boots Cat Swift. There's no way it's 45k. No way it's 45k. Even a regional sale average of nearly 8. Got to buy 2. Sure, whatever. Send them somewhere else. Sorry, I'm both chatting with chat and also brain dumping my thoughts while I buy stuff. Do you think they'll change the enchanting catch-up? Probably not. I don't think there's a good reason for them to change it. If they're going to change anything, I would say that they will probably bring the rest of the professions closer to what enchanting has in terms of catch-up. Not a fan of the patron orders for knowledge points. They felt so random. Well, that level of random goes away if they jack up the catch-up system. I think a much better catch-up system is, instead of giving you 3 orders every day that expire at the end of the day, and you either fill them or you don't fill them, I think the better option is to make it so that if you are quote-unquote behind on knowledge points, you always have 3 possible knowledge point orders. And what you should have instead is the ability to refresh an order. To simply say, I ain't fucking doing that, right? There should be a cross next to it, and you should simply be able to say, I'm not doing this order. Now, they're patron orders, so you're not offending anybody. They're computer-generated NPC orders. You're not offending anybody. You should be able to say, no, I'm not doing that order, and it should refresh it. But your limitation should be how many times that you can say no to an order. And I think that is what should be on a daily cooldown. Your ability to say no to an order should be on the daily cooldown. This will mean, for professions like blacksmithing, for example, where an order comes through and it's going to cost you 5,000 gold to fill it, and it's going to give you 1 knowledge point, you can tell it to do one. But you might only be able to, 3 to maybe 5 times a day refresh an order. This would mean that those players that do want to pump gold into their professions to catch up quickly still can, because they could, in theory, just continuously fill those orders that appear until they're quote-unquote caught up. It would cost them a lot, and the trade-off with that is that you are then going to need to hopefully make that gold back eventually. But it would, in my opinion, be a nice happy medium between what we have with enchanting, which you can just zug by disenchanting stuff, and just having 3 patron orders a day that you may or may not choose to fill. So I definitely think there's a happy medium there. I don't think they'll change enchanting, but I do think they'll have to do something to bring the rest of the professions a better catch-up system. It's hard to complain this expansion about the catch-up system too aggressively, because at least there is one. Let's not forget that at least there is one, albeit feeling pretty grim. But if part of their simplification of the professions is maybe not to change too much with the professions, but give players easier access to leveling them up, that is in part a simplification. One of the things that, frustrates players more so than anything else is that feeling of being behind in their professions and almost giving up before they begin. So maybe if they can tweak the catch-up system to be a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit smarter, they might not really need to change much with the rest of the professions, but it will give it a nice... give the whole profession system a little bit of a fresh lick of paint that might get people more on board with it. Or they could completely scrap multi-craft and resourcefulness. Entirely possible. They could, much like they did with ingenuity, just can it. They got rid of ingenuity I'm not ingenuity, inspiration. Sorry, they got rid of inspiration in Dragonflight. Just straight up, were like, right, no, we're getting rid of this. Which also tells me that there's some possibility that they could just do the same with multicraft. They could do the same with resourcefulness. They could just get rid of them. We could end up going back to a pre-Dragonflight crafting cost scenario where everybody's costs are the same, but still keeping things like patron orders, still keeping the more modernized profession system with the sparks and the work orders and things like that. Now, I would be a little bit sad to see that happen, because I do kind of think that it's things like multicraft, it's things like resourcefulness that actually adds a little bit of flavour to the crafting. That if you craft something in scale, you do tend to work towards mathematical averages, which should in turn give you, more often than not, a better crafting price than if you just craft one or two of a thing. So I would be sad to see things like multicraft and resourcefulness go. But at the same time, I do have to ask the question, well, how much am I really crafting now to utilize them anyway? Because the rest of the system is also a little bit jank. So, once again, spitballing ideas. We'll find out soon enough. First thing they need to remove is the qualities of materials. Just have two. Raw, in which you farm it, and then refined. Better quality than what standard gatherers could do. So, that's interesting approach. If you went that direction, would you also be on board with my theory of making gathering just a single profession then? That somebody could, in theory, have gathering and then a crafting profession sat alongside it, which would then mean that, you know, kind of similar in terms of like leatherworking in the past would often be paired with skinning because they synergize, right? You go skin mobs, you get your leather, and then you use that leather to craft, and then you sell a finished product. If you had raw materials and refined materials, presumably those refined materials are refined by the crafter, not the farmer. Having leatherworking and skinning paired together on the same character, or at least having access to those professions across your entire account, would be some vertical integration that could squeeze out a little bit more profit for you. But I think that would then emphasize less need for having separate, dedicated gathering professions. I don't know. It's a good thought. The refining process has pretty much been dead on arrival. 2 expansions in a row now. And it's so funny because this was clear and obvious to see from a mile off as well. I was saying in both the beta of Dragonflight and the beta for the War Within that refining is never going to be used. Never ever is it going to be used. There was never going to be a period in time where one material was going to be like 5 times the price of the next quality. It just wasn't going to happen. When you had things like multicraft, when you had things like resourcefulness in, there was never going to be a case where something would literally be 5 times the price of something else. The refining has been dead on arrival, 2 expansions in a row. Do we think that they maybe just take a different... Do we think that they try a different tactic this time? Crafting should be dependent on other than simple raw materials, but also on other crafted items from the other professions, which are then account bound. This way, crafters can enjoy crafting a niche of high-end products for high-end users. I like when everybody can gather everything. Having mining as such as a full profession's never made any sense to me. It made sense to me way back in the day, but in the current landscape of retail, it doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion. Why should we fly past or run past or walk past a herb and not be able to pick it up? It doesn't make any sense. And why does mining and herbalism have to be? Mining back in the day when it also did things like smelting of bars had a little bit more of a added value to it. But herbing is literally always just been picking up plants from the floor. How do you, what? Really? We're not preserving these plants for like historical records. We're literally picking them up and then giving them to a scribe that smushes them into paste. Like, it's not like you need to be delicate when picking up the flowers in the first place, you know? If you're gonna like tap down into the lore of it. Damn. Dragon Isles jewel crafting. 1,500 gold. I'm paying 75 gold for these recipes these days. I can't be paying 1,500 gold. That's a swizz. Not sure. Nothing here. Oh my god, look at all the uncanny gear. Look at all the uncanny gear. Somebody's been listening. Maybe this is that dude maybe this is that same dude's main character and this is their main realm. To where they're also crafting and selling a bunch of other slots. Primu on Spine Breaker this could potentially be the home of Mr. Uncanny Seller. Interesting. Look at the DB region sale average for some of these. 7,500 gold. Almost looks very calculated. I apologize if this is you and you're lurking in the background and I'm just completely doxing your master plan to make millions, but that, or there's somebody here that's literally crafting this shit for free. Somebody's buying it all from here and syndicating it out the rest of the region. That's also entirely plausible. Did save quite some gold at the start of the war with him by having a toon refining with busy hands. Well, in season 1, it had small windows of opportunity. But that was mostly because it was season 1. And people hadn't min-maxed their gathering professions yet. And it was still the Wild West because it was season 1, but there was very slim opportunity there. Usually you would find that if you bought a bunch of quality 2 and then refined it up to quality 3, by the time you did that, and by the time that you also have to remember that the auction house takes a 5% cut of whatever you're doing, unless you also then go on to use those quality 3 mats yourself, there often was like not even silvers in it, even when the opportunity was kind of maybe there. Because retail's too busy, too big these days. Like taking one material and like pressing a button and turning it into a higher quality material, smushing 5 of them together to make one of something better. That's like 2006 classic crafting. That's like put it on the auction house meta. Like, it's such an old school thing. Retail's just too clever for that shit these days. That sort of stuff just doesn't Doesn't last 2 minutes. So even in scenarios where it may possibly work, it's hyper time sensitive, and you got to bet your ass that you get those materials bought, refined, and sold again quick time. Serious quick time. Especially with Thaumaturgy, that quite quickly was able to churn out quality 2 mats at a significant rate. It's exactly the thing. I was making alloys myself, and it saved me the auction house cut because the rank 3 mats were about that much more expensive. Yeah, this has been the expansion of vertical integration. This has definitely been the expansion of you need to take the process from start to finish yourself, because every step in the process is potentially 5% profit. So there only needs to be 2 to 3 steps in the process for you to actually maybe walk away with like 10 to 15% margins, which are far more acceptable for crafters. The significant downside is it comes at 2 to 3 times the time to craft those things, which is great if you can AFK crafting in big batches, but is not so great if you can't. Sorceress Shadow Ruby Pendant. That's also crafted, isn't it? Yeah, Blister Amulet. $1,000 though, mind. It's cheap. Recipe Potion Absorption Inhibitor. Dragon Isles Alchemy Recipe. No way that's 96,000 all over the place. No way. Well, it's one of those weird ones that there's a bunch of them, and the likelihood is I'll send it somewhere else and list it for 50k, and if it sells, it sells. If not, it's a recipe, I don't care. Shimmering Inch Shifters now down to 8k on some realms, 450 gold for a current expansion recipe. I'll pay 450 gold for current expansion recipe. Where was that? Oh, Dentag, of course. No wonder there's a bunch of stuff there. Whoa, why'd you kill my TSM for? What you do that for, game? That's a tactical price. Tough Scorpion Shoulders. Pretty sure this is one of the ones that's been re-added to the game. I'm almost convinced that's been re-added to the game. I will move on. Next. My TSM falls over in a stiff freeze these days. Yeah, I must admit, I honestly do not trust TSM as far as I could throw it these days. If it wasn't still the absolute powerhouse for like posting shit to the auction house, I would probably try and figure out a way to get just its data and not the rest. This is... Ah, Jesus. I've just had a brainwave. How cheeky would it be for somebody to... This is probably very, very cheeky. And Gumdrops lurks occasionally on a Wednesday night, so maybe this will perk his ears if he's listening. TSM might even want to do this themselves. Considering how much of a hog, absolute hog, TSM is? What if they did a TSM Lite that was none of the groups or the operations or any of that shit, but it was just the data? Just DB market price, DB recent. What if it was just data and just tooltips? Like a real straightforward light version. All the shit that everybody wants TSM for, but none of the fluff. That was not an absolute hog on resources. I think an add-on of that nature would hit the top of the download charts faster than WeCorers. Because I know many people that, one, don't use TSM because it's an absolute beast. And even people that do use TSM a lot know that it's just, like, if they could turn off half of it, they would. Like I said, it's either one of those things that somebody else could just suck all of that data, probably from TSM somehow, without having TSM loaded. Because TSM functions predominantly based upon the fact that you have the desktop application and that feeds the data into the add-on. But what if you could access just the data from that add-on that is, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe too aloud here. But a TSM Lite, I've told the TSM guys a few times, they just need to lean into the data these days. I think they made a monumental mistake with their website. I think they dumped far too many resources, time, effort, and money into their website. Not just reversing it back to what it used to be, a modular system. Or at least, maybe not fully modular, but at least like separating the core, this does everything TSM, and then a TSM Lite that is just like, just your tooltips and just your price sources and just that sort of stuff. Still runs off the back of the desktop application as normal, but OBOS Exchange add-on is an option. Similar stats, just in a tooltip. Oh, that's true. Yeah. TSM aren't technically the only ones that have the data these days, but TSM has some of the more important data, I guess, in terms of things like sale rates and sale averages, which I'm quite sure nobody else has copied. Am I getting alpha access? I hope so. I hope so. I have not had anything confirmed, but I hope so. I'm pretty sure September is going to be alpha month. I don't think the alpha is going to be up for a huge amount of time, 4 or 5 weeks when they do spit it out. With the schedule of everything that's going on in the next 6 months, it just makes sense for them to do the alpha in September. Since October is likely to be, October 7th is rumored to be the launch of Remix, which obviously they don't care too much about clashing. They probably don't care too much about clashing Chromatic Sword? Seems pretty cheap. Go. What was I saying? Yeah. The schedule seems that it just kind of makes a lot of sense for September. September seems like a good month for them to do the alpha. I mean, Ian came out on a panel the other day, didn't he, and said within a short few weeks it'll be out, so it's close. 11.2.5 PTR will go into next week. I guess 11.2.7 probably around the same time as the alpha comes out. Oh, the 11.2.7 PTR, you mean? Well, we already know that the alpha's coming out in the next couple of weeks. It's just exactly when. I'm hoping, I really am hoping, that us being a official WoW partner, A, that gets me access to the alpha, or B, at the very least, an indication ahead of time to when it is going to turn up. Even just a few days notice would be nice, honestly, because as soon as it does land, it's going to be busy, busy, busy for a few days, weeks, possibly, maybe, possibly, who knows. Eleven two seven PTI, yeah, expecting housing, decor, items for the old professions in that build. Yeah, that's the patch where we expect all of the crafting stuff to kick in as well. For those who want to start padding their... For those that want to start padding their decor collection. I'm going to wish I kept all of those old mats. Maybe. Who knows? $11.27 PTR probably needs to turn up before the alpha, though. If you think about it. Because the alpha's going to give the game away regardless. Not that they're trying to keep that sort of stuff too much of a secret, but alpha will give the game away without question, because alpha will have alpha's midnight, so they'll give the game away with what's coming in 11.2.7 if they launch the alpha first. But we've only just had the 11. Only 2 weeks ago did we have the 11.2.5 PTR, so it still feels a little early to get the 11.2.7 PTR, honestly. But I don't know how things work these days. All feels like a bit of a mystery. Like I said, it'd be really nice if I got like just 2 days head start, you know. 2 days notice, 3 days notice, half a week's notice that the alpha's launching on this day. Be prepared, you know. Clear your calendar. Even if I'm not able, you know, even if my account doesn't get flagged for alpha, like, at least a heads up that it's coming. Clean your schedule. Right, whilst this scan happens, I'm going to take a quick ad break for 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2. 60 plus 9 viewers. Giggity. Another I'm Just Sleeping stream? What? Oh, the puppies aren't here this evening. Sorry, the puppies were here earlier. The puppies are back in. They're not in the studio this evening. If you want to see puppies, you can scrub back to the beginning. They were here for the first half hour. Right, any goodies? Any goodies? 50 gold recipes. 12,000 gold pets. Surprise, surprise, uncanny combat gear. Oh my god, that's a list. Where are we? Oh, Silver Moon, of course. Old school blacksmithing recipes. Still more expensive than I would like. Do we want a couple of old school? Sure. Ormond's vest. Seems like pure bait price. Plundered wand. Cares about wands these days, do they? Scrappy Thorntail? That's got to be a new Eco Dome pet as well, hasn't it? That's got to be a new Eco Dome pet for sure. I think I'll hold fire on buying too many of these Eco Dome pets. I'm not totally sure quite how low they're going to go. Using the default sniper string? No, it's slightly customized in order to just filter out a little bit more of the trash. But it's not that far different from the default. Such as it gets rid of like the grey items and stuff that I really couldn't care less about. Even if there's a grey item that sells and that I don't care. If it's a grey item, I'll ignore it, you know, so it filters a couple more things than the default string, but it's not that different. Undeath to water. Seems like a bit of a bait price on that and all, but also seems like a relatively easy flip. Infernal alchemy stones. I didn't even know you could sell these. I thought they were bind on pickup when you crafted them. Apparently they're not. Today I learn. Nothing on the go-go there. Hey, Soph, how we doing? Welcome in. Good evening. Good evening, good evening. Hope you're well. Still haven't touched the new patch. Couldn't care less about the player power for now. Should I go back and get all of the old world stuff done? Good question. I wouldn't know. There is. We usually get an end of expansion meta achievement at some point. So, you know, ticking off things like killing the rares and farming the treasures in the past zones is not a terrible idea. If you care about whatever the meta achievement. Do we reckon that's going to come in 10.2.5 or is that going to be a 10.2.7 thing? Is 10.2.7 going to leave it too late considering that's also going to be player housing? I don't know. Are we going to get one at all? It's also a question. Oh god, a wild Marcus appears. Oh god. Welcome in, fella. Good evening. Any rares to kill? Not really. That's a garbage Galagio. I don't care about you. Soph's milkshake brings all the Marcuses to the yard. Primarily speaking on the profession and the housing stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth if you like the decor is going to be. It feels to me like decor is going to be a what I would consider like a flash in the pan opportunity to make some gold from. We've kind of been given the heads up that most decor items are going to get posted on the region-wide auction house, not individual auction houses. Meaning the likelihood is that profit in any of it will get crushed into the ground very, very quickly. Now, that's not to say a shitload of it won't sell, but if you can't sell it for much more than what it costs you to craft it, the only person winning there is the farmers. Crafters aren't really, if crafters can't squeeze out a margin from doing their bit, then it's not that great, is it? But the reality is that if it ends up being an absolute cash cow gold mine, having your professions set up so that you can go and get any old recipe if you need to, and will have the profession set up to be able to craft the thing. Because fucking who knows, you could need Outlands blacksmithing 75 to like craft a chair or something. If you get the recipe and those chairs are selling for 10,000 gold a piece and 5,000 gold of that's profit, you're going to be kicking yourself if you don't have the Outlands blacksmithing leveled up, So it's kind of one of those, we don't know if it's going to be worthwhile doing, but if you haven't got much else to be doing this patch anyway, not a bad time. Not bad, not bad. Honestly, it's like he follows me around. Marcus, professional lurker. Right, anything that we think is worth throwing some gold at. Flipping fisher friends, man. Don't want to buy your flipping fishing rod recipes. Rim saboteurs. These scream crafted. They also seem awkwardly priced at 7,500 gold. They feel a little bit too expensive. We're looking for steals, not just deals. Whoa, 3k? I can't not buy one of those for 3k. Tuskar Elder's Staff, straight up cosmetic item. We'll have you. 300 gold for Kazalgar leatherworking recipe. Hard not to imagine we'll flip that for a profit somewhere, somehow. $10k still seems too much on these. Need to hold out. Need to trust my instincts and hold out on those. 75 gold for a Dragon Isles recipe? Go on then. Bucket kickers? The hell? Classic blacksmithing. Ah, ancient recipe. That was added last expansion, wasn't it? 1,600 gold. I'm buying way too many recipes these days. But it's because I have confidence that I can sell them somewhere. So if we'll go to Joe's channel now, claims she was there first, tempted, but I want to learn how to make gold. we're professional gold. Well, I think I even titled the stream today "Professional Gold Spender." We're not so much making gold particularly, other than I'm using all of my characters and all my different realms to hunt down any potential bargains that I think can be flipped for profits. It's not an exact science, but I'm only spending, should we say, disposable income. I'm not spending gold that I need for other things. What's more fun is when we open the mailboxes on all of these realms and see what we've actually sold. Then we get some surprises from time to time. You got to make the gold to spend the gold, though, right? Well, that's true. That's true. It didn't come from nowhere. I kind of have a bit of a rotation these days of just like smashing the early season of an expansion, the first like 4 to 6 weeks of an expansion, where you basically trip over gold. You got to do something. You got to go kind of out of your way to not make gold at the beginning of an expansion. And then any gold that we make at the beginning of this expansion, we tinker with and we mess about with and we spend it on other stuff and try things, test things. Lamplighter staff, for example, that's 3,500 gold. That's an easy flip. This is where market knowledge kind of helps a little bit. Lamplighter set was added in 11.0 and is an absolute pain in the ass to farm. Which means it has a reasonably good region-wide value. And is quite rare. And occasionally then pops up on servers undervalued because people don't know what to list it for. And they see it being lower item level and assume they can't get much for it. But it's MOG. No market knowledge, so I end up farming. But farming teaches you a lot. If you pick up different materials and stuff, it's not too difficult to start figuring out, well, why are the people buying my materials? And you just kind of follow the steps. Oh, well, people bought these materials because they're crafting this, or they're, or they're turning it into that, or there's usually a path. Elixir of Dream Vision? I don't see that very often. Chances are I'm unlikely to flip that for much, though. Another one of those. It's 200 gold. If I put it in the bin eventually, I don't care. Okay. Not really anything going on those realms. What's with the late stream? Wife gone out? No. Wednesdays I try to do double stream. I do my usual stream and then we throw the stream up again on a Wednesday evening. As far as the EU is concerned, there's usually plenty of people about. Because it's reset day. People are doing stuff. It gives Team NA an opportunity to say hello, which my normal morning streams often don't. And I'll usually have a few beers on a Wednesday night and chill out and just chat rubbish with you guys, honestly. I'm usually just like, oh, that's worth a bit, and then I forget what I posted. Yeah, as long as you don't leave things in your mailbox for too long and then they get eaten by the mailbox monster, but even simple add-ons like Auctionator can make listing things on the auction house quick and easy. The best thing to do is to have a separate character that you just get into the habit. This character, for example, this one literal character, Banktheus, creatively named, is a character that just deals with putting stuff on the auction house. Anything that I find that I think is worth something, I send it to this dude and he just puts it on the auction house. And if you just get into the habit of logging on to your auction house character as the first thing you do every day, you'll actually be surprised just how much just kind of like silly things sell for, how many little bits and bobs you can sell, which always helps. You don't have to be doing anything particularly crazy. Crimson Mechasaurs below minimum price. No venture company man on Draenor. There's a Mechanica pet missing on Draenor. Literally one of the biggest realms in the EU is missing a Mechanica pet. Damn. $33 quick emeralds. We were selling a few of those tonight. Here you go. Yeah, if you try and sell things on the I mean, it's very easy to do if you happen to have the long boy. Trying to sell things on the character that you pick them up on, it means you end up selling things on about 20 different characters, and then people forget about it, and yeah, they basically end up never selling it. But anything that you think might be worth even something, I go by the rule: if it's not bolted down, sell it. Right? So, Soulbound, obviously you can't sell it. It's bolted down. Put it in the bank. Might be useful in the future, unless it's gear. But any materials, anything that is not literally bolted down, send it to a single character and have one like auction house dude that just posts stuff. Because then it keeps all of your like selling stuff in one place, and you it doesn't take too much to like just build that character into your rotation of whatever you do on a daily basis anyway. Put it at the top of your character list so it's the first thing you see, and actually it will become a bit of an addictive thing to log on to that character to see what they've sold. That's the fun bit. And then you just you see you do the fun bit of finding out what they've sold, then you put everything back on the auction house that didn't sell. And the more you play different corners of the game, the more random bits and bobs you'll pick up, and it all adds up. And anything that goes on the region-wide auction house, anything that's a commodity or a material or anything, literally flies off the shelf. Look now, how long did it take me to put those items on the auction house? And boom, like, just, gone. There's 10,000 gold I didn't have before. Done. GG. Of just stuff lying about. Since they changed the crafting system, I just don't bother. Oh, you're not alone. There's rumors that they're going to change the crafting system. What, not like fully change it again, but like the word simplified has been thrown around. Because you're not alone. So many people have basically looked at the crafting system over the last 2 expansions and gone, no thank you. No thank you. So Blizzard clearly need to do something about it. Quality 3 gems are still going up. I don't get it. I would imagine it's got something to do with the fact that people are now getting a lot more gear that they feel is worth gemming. And quite simply, gems are probably flying off the shelf. I mean, I'm selling the crushed gemstones already, like, no problem whatsoever. So this is a sign. This is a sign that people are not even processing this themselves. They're buying the materials to craft the rank 3 gems to then go and sell as well. So you got multiple different levels of jewel crafters working here. You've probably got people crushing the ore. You've got people making the crushed gemstones. Then you got separate crafters putting the gems together and selling them. 96% CPU usage leaks on TSM. I've had to disable it for now. I mean, if you can genuinely pinpoint it down to TSM, you know, let them know in the Discord, but that doesn't sound like something TSM would do. There are memory leaks in the game, or there at least have been, and up until recently. But for CPU usage leaks, I doubt that'll have anything to do with TSM. That sounds significantly more using the add-on usage thing to track it. It might peak at 96% CPU usage. When you log into a character, TSM updates its database, and that's really CPU intensive, but it does it for like 10 seconds when you log in, and then it pops a little line in your chat log that says TSM database has been updated, and then it chills the fuck out. If I guess if it gets stuck in some sort of loop at that point, you might have a problem, but it shouldn't do it permanently. You should only do it for a short period when you just log in. But like I said, if you can narrow it down to actually TSM, let them know in the Discord, because you might have found something that others haven't. But it does sound odd all the same. Kind of a big ask when we had the same system for 16 years to suddenly change it and ask for everybody to be okay with it. I mean, there's no denying that when they threw the new crafting system at us, it was definitely an overhaul. There's no denying it was definitely an overhaul. I do remember the Dragonflight beta. Trying to figure all of that shit out was a task. Was a task and a half. The problem they made is like what I mentioned earlier, though. Like, the people that enjoy the new crafting system and the people that took the time to figure it out don't really do any of the hard work. Blizzard stupidly have put half of the emphasis on everybody that didn't want to do it. Such as when you're placing an order for a piece of gear, the buyer has to supply everything. The buyer has to figure out all the materials. The buyer has to figure out all the qualities. They have to figure out flipping enchanting crests. They have to figure out sparks. Like, it's the people that are not doing the professions that have to do all of the hard work, not the people that have the professions. It's backwards. They'd make the whole system 99 times easier if they just let the crafters, all the players who do enjoy tinkering with this shit, let them do all of the busy work, because they want to do the busy work. Let the people that don't want to do all the busy work open up a UI, say they want to buy this, allow them to see what the market rate for said thing is, put a number in a box and press send, and let somebody pick up that order and do it. Doesn't have to be complicated. It's only complicated because Blizzard made it complicated. I want to click 3 buttons and make 3k. But how many times can you click 3 buttons and make 3k in a day, though? This is the problem. It's alright if you're just chilling in Capital City doing sweet FA waiting for queues or something, but even then you probably get out-clicked by people who use add-ons to scrape chat channels and stuff, so I was having intense lagginess in Dornagal, saw my CPU was being chewed into. TSM was the culprit, but I also have 6 other add-ons like CraftSim and WeakAuras that all contribute. If you've got something that's making I would go as far as to say there is 99% it's probably a WeakAura thing more than anything else. That it's causing TSM to get stuck in a feedback loop because of a WeakAura that's interacting with it in some way, shape, or form or something. It sounds like more of a conflict between 2 add-ons rather than just TSM. I've not heard of TSM doing that by itself before. Easy way to sort of diagnose these things is turn all of your add-ons off and just put TSM on and then see if it does it. That will determine whether it's actually a TSM related issue or whether it's a conflict between something else. Right, I'm not going to sit here and watch auctions because that's hella boring, but at least we got some stuff selling in the background. There's not a huge amount I really need to do. Like I'm deliberately keeping very modest amount of like busy work on my main dude. Did I do 3 delves earlier or did I only do 2? Hang on, let's have a look. Oh, I only did 2 delves earlier. That means I need at least 2 more delves to get a 694 in the second vault slot. Oh no, I have done 3 delves. Top 2 runs of the week, top 3. I can do 1 more delve run. What's our final delve run for the day? I don't have a key for it though. Doesn't really matter, does it? We're just doing it for vault. Dread Pit. Is that one gross? We just give it a go anyway. We find out. I arguably only need to do it on an 8, don't I? From this point on, actually, we've done 3 11s. Don't need, especially if I'm not going to open the box at the end of it anyway. We're only doing it for vault. We only need to do it on an 8. We'd be able to absolutely toast an 8 at this point. Possibly a WeakAura that checks to see if I have a crafting buff on, maybe. Yeah, it's add-on related stuff is always kind of difficult to diagnose. I kind of go by the theory of most tech stuff. If in doubt, turn it off and turn it on again. And in World of Warcraft terms, that basically means disable all add-ons apart from the one you think is broken, then see if it's still actually broken. And if it is still broken, you found your culprit, but otherwise you have to keep looking. Posted all my concentration crafts from the last 10 days. Did some cancel scanning for about 30 minutes. Went off to have dinner. Looted 1 million gold from the mailbox. Mind you, I've only got 10 profession alts. It's been really good gold throughout the entire expansion. This is why there were some big question marks in my mind about what they're going to do with concentration in Midnight. Since they technically wouldn't need to change anything to the system. But they could very easily rebalance. Why can't I pick up these boxes? They could very easily rebalance the material requirements for stuff. Am I meant to blow these boxes up? Oh yeah, okay, that's what I do. How do I get this? What? I don't think I've ever done this one. Power control and turn off. You're not a power control thing. How do I get in here then? Let's kill things and figure shit out. That's a cool quest dialogue interface you have. I like that. It's probably the plumber add-on. Plumber add-on is just a multitude of fun things these days. Made by Peter Yu, the same guy that's responsible for Narcissus. And a bunch of other little quality of life things. My favourite bit is this. This is really neat, really tidy. Oh shit, don't stand in the goo. I don't use craft scan, honest. It's good add-on.
Found a bit of gold.
Can I throw this at you by chance? Oh, it stuns you. It doesn't really do a lot to you though. Oh, now I've got to go get another one. Alright, let's kill this first. I've recently been told by a smart gent though to turn off add-ons, not add more. True. True. If that smart gent was me though, ignore everything I said, I'm a fraud.
Time to face it. Old Bran's got your
Just
back.
keeping people on their toes. Shattering, flickering spot. Oh, I'm far too fast to read that. Yeah, I don't think I've done this delve before. This must have been one that was added with 11.2. One of the bonus storylines, maybe. Sorry, 11.1. Okay, is that gonna... Ah, okay, now that switches that off, and then this is the end. Okay, cool. Can we go... I guess we go round.
That's more
Don't have too much time to play the game anymore, but 2 1-hour sessions a week I can manage, so I'm still making gold. Might have to get myself fired up for midnight, though. Well, let's see what there is first. Let's see what there is. I don't think alpha's going to be midnight. I don't think the midnight alpha's going to be next week. I have a sneaky suspicion it's going to be the week after. But whenever we get it, we can have a dive through it and start to have a look. Interestingly, in both The War Within and Dragonflight, the alpha was relatively segregated. Such as they gave you like 1 zone to test with like 2 professions to test. They kind of staggered what you could play with to, you know, sort of laser focus the feedback a little bit more. So if they do a similar thing this time, it'll be... We'll at least start to get a picture of what's going on quite quickly. It might not be a total information overload. Ultimate Orange Apocalypse. Oh, I got the buffs automatically, okay. There was no bombs over here to blow these things up. Any bombs over here? I see dudes, but I don't see bombs. How am I meant to be blowing up all of these if there's no bombs anywhere? Why do I feel like I'm missing a trick here in this delve? No bombs around here. There's no bombs around here. I got to carry the damn things all the way from the beginning? That seems like a chore. Can you give me a short overview of what you think about cooking as a side gig profession for some low amount of steady income? I'm not a cooking aficionado. I haven't even leveled cooking this entire expansion. Cooking is significantly more straightforward than any other of the like major crafting professions. But it is always very time intensive. You're going to spend a huge amount of time with cooking, processing stuff. So cooking's great if you've got a whole bunch of AFK time where you're not really doing anything on the computer and can just set something, you know, set a bunch of beef fillets to craft or whatever. Also, cooking is very seasonal. Super seasonal. The way to make significant gold, or any gold really, from cooking is to buy your materials way ahead of time of a season's launching. Then spend huge amounts of time making everything from those materials. Potentially even processing everything up to feasts, and then selling the feasts when they hit their like peak demand when a new season launches. This kind of means that it's not really all that viable to get into it right here, right now, I would imagine. Although I don't have data to back this up. This is just an assumption. I would imagine right here, right now, if you try and start selling feasts or food buffs to people, you'll be competing against others that will be more than willing to crush the price down because they bought their materials a while ago. A similar story to a lot of crafting, honestly, but at least you're not so much dealing with the over complications of spec trees and all this sort of stuff with cooking. So it's a touch easier to manage, but I wouldn't fully assume that it's easy passive gold, because if you've assumed that, many others will also assume that. It's very time intensive. You probably make a very small gold per hour once you've averaged stuff out, but the fact is that you can do a lot of it semi-AFK. You basically need to be a panda to compete. Well, yeah, and that, if you don't have... Cooking is probably one of the racials that does matter. Time heavy seems to be a trend with many of the professions now. It's why I don't enjoy them as much as I used to. The aspect of crafting for me, I guess I can probably say the heyday of crafting for me was when the crafting meta was spend the gold you already have on materials, quickly craft a bunch of shit, and then spend a little bit more time setting up something like Trade Skill Master to optimize the posting of those quickly and efficiently. This would mean your entire process could be done in 20 minutes. You could spend 50,000 gold, spend 20 minutes crafting and listing a bunch of stuff, and then, you know, potentially turn that 50,000 gold into 70. The advantage was that you had to risk a little bit of your gold, but the counteract of that was that you didn't have to spend too much time doing it. You're right, a lot of crafting these days has become very time consuming. Now, if it's going to be very time consuming in the first place, why would you take the risk of doing crafting when, if you're going to be spending the time anyway, just go farming? As annoying as it sounds to say. When you're farming, you're fundamentally taking no real risk. Certainly not in terms of gold, anyway. You're not risking the gold that you've already worked hard to acquire in the first place. And this is why, for the majority of the expansion, farming does probably now outpace crafting a lot of the time. Unless, like I mentioned, you can do things at an absolutely ludicrous scale and you're willing to take the biggest of the biggest risks. And you also then simultaneously have huge amounts of time set aside to craft and process and make everything into something else sort of stuff. Which is not necessarily always what people want to be doing these days, I think. Having racials that directly relate to whether a profession is profitable or not is really weird for me. Not a fan. They've been kind of wrestling with it. Blizzard have been wrestling with this for a little while. And it's mostly down to the fact that crafting professions become single-digit margin, very cutthroat scenarios because, surprise, surprise, everybody would like to make some quick and easy gold given the choice. I don't really know. I mean, the solution for the racials is probably to take skill off them. It's probably to do something slightly different with them. Something that still is impactful and useful to have, but not mission critical. Something like, dare I say, crafting speed would be one of those kind of stats that would make more sense for a racial trait to give you. For a racial to give you a faster crafting time with profession X. It's not as interesting. It's probably, you know, not as cool, but at least you know it's not going to be the difference between somebody making gold and not making gold, which it has been, honestly, far too often in the last couple of expansions. Mr. Elon, my friend, welcome in. Good evening, good evening. Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in. Thank you for bringing your friends. Hope you had a good stream. I know it's you're probably hungry. I sense that you tend to raid and run. If you need to, please do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hope you had a wonderful day. I love the dark iron for the blacksmithing speed. Do they get a speed boost? Do they? I need to blow up more supplies, but I can't find the supplies where bombs are. Can I get there before these bombs explode? This is a really weird delve. I don't think I've done this one. 25%? Okay, that's actually significant as well, isn't it? Elon, are you printing money this evening, my friend? You've probably been doing auction house shenanigans. We've been talking about crafting, even though not really doing a lot of it today. We've been recently talking about cooking. Can't say I've been the biggest cook this expansion. But I know quite a few people who have made some gold off it for sure.
They'll never be using that move.
You did some flipping and some farming. Probably not too much, not too different to what I've been up to then. We did some, we did a combination of two of those really. I did, oh wait, that pinged me there. How do I get back to the beginning? Oh, they just go between each other. We kill some rares in the Undermine, farm up some Mechanicas. Got 17 of the things knocking about right now that I need to do something with. We probably spent a reasonable amount of gold buying up some stuff for the cross-realm flipping. Probably more gold than I should have done. We don't empty mailboxes till tomorrow though. Need to wait for all of the auctions to expire before we do mailbox stuff. So maybe in the I need to maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. We'll empty the mailboxes and see what we've sold over the last couple of days. Is this the boss? Stuff melts in an 8 now. Stuff melts in an 8. I still don't do these delves particularly fast because I'm clearly not paying attention half the time. Far too busy chatting with you guys.
This Bronzebeard still got it.
We don't do them particularly fast, but at least they're not overly taxing. There's our 694 vault upgrade. Love to see it.
Nice find.
75 more undercoins. A wheel of cheese, whoop-de-doo. Nemesis box for our runed crests. A few more. I don't have a key to open this anyway, do I? No, I don't even have a key. No keys. I think it's Bran he's carrying me. He probably is, you know. Good old OP Bran.
Find me wherever the action is.
Two words that don't go together very well. OP and Bran. Has anybody, at any point throughout the entire expansion, really felt that Bran was particularly useful? I mean, I can't knock him. He does throw me a few potions from time to time. Other than that, he's been kind of useless, hasn't he? Tank Bran was an interesting twist, but I still don't think that it's great. OP stands for overpulling. We're getting that rogue, aren't we, next in midnight? We say goodbye to Bran. Bran sits on the bench. He does his best. I don't think he even does. I'm not convinced he does. Oh my god, please don't look at my inventory. Crafting speed is definitely something to look out for in Midnight. If they disable the Dragonflight Vial and the Weaver buff won't work next expansion, the multiple account crafting and the crafting speed times of high demand will have a lot more value. True. True. The Weaver, I mean, the Weaver buff has definitely carried in terms of crafting speed for a lot of people. It's been a almost mandatory weekly buff to go and get, hasn't it, really? For any serious crafting. That 30% crafting speed is definitely makes a difference. Although, flipping Dragonflight Vials may still even give actual crafting speed again, who knows? Bran is great if you like a maniac running around pulling extra stuff that's not needed. If a touch of crazy is what you're after, Bran's your man. Bran is your man.
Rush to conclusions.
Definitely a touch of crazy. That's just regular hunters. Oof. Quite literally, shots fired. See what I did there? Right.
Find good trails.
Where are we with crests? Not enough to upgrade, not enough to upgrade. 32 runed? We can do summon with 32 runed. We can squeeze an upgrade out of that somewhere, surely?
What do you seek?
We can squeeze a cheeky upgrade out of summon, right? Oh, I need 45 to get the ring to 4 of 6. As a hunter main, I agree, and I miss barrage. Yeah, just slip that in there. Stealing damn barrage. Hunters never pulled anything accidentally with barrage. Why are they taking it away? Okay. Maybe I will just save the rune crests. There's still like 50 odd I can get this week, which actually will probably come from just converting up the lower level stuff that we get by like killing rares and whatever. Probably not going to do... I mean, I might do a few more delves for the rest of the week to maybe get there.
Farewell.
I haven't decided. I've said this a few times and I haven't decided. I guess I'll play this a little bit by ear. If I get to Tuesday and I still need to do 4 delves to get my 8 for the week, then I probably won't do it. But you never know. Over the next few days, I might get bored and do a day, a delve a day. Keeps the vault at bay, or something along those lines. Maybe we should go by that theory. I could, and I probably should, go finish the Koresh stuff, to be honest. Or, alternatively, considering it is 11 o'clock at night and I've been up since 5 AM this morning, I am actually very tempted to go to bed. It could be bedtime.
I read about this.
What was I saying earlier about make sure you get at least 6 hours sleep a night?
Sorry, I got distracted.
Pinnacle cash. Oh, I got my half a spark. Well, that's useful to have obtained either way. Hey, it does give us a key. All right. Okay. Well, now we do have a key. The Ecodome quest today in Moldraxis was horrendous. Yeah, I got heads up that it was horrendous and turned war mode on before I went out there. That helped a lot. But yes. Can confirm. Can confirm. This is what happens when we don't have hyperspawn mechanics. Look how quickly shit falls apart without hyperspawn mechanics. Somebody clearly forgot to switch on the hyperspawn. And boy oh boy, did we feel it. But right, I am going to think that the sensible bone in me is going to do the sensible thing, which is probably call it a day. Boys and girls, thank you very much for stopping by. I do appreciate we've just had Elon Raiders with a bunch of people, so if you're new around here, welcome in. We do tinker with gold-related things on a daily basis, not necessarily always smashing out the crafts or whatever, but some things along those lines. In the not-too-distant future, I think we'll be focusing an awful lot on both alpha, beta, remixy sort of stuff. So if that's your jam, feel free to stick around, hit that follow button. If you're regular around here, thank you very much for joining on this Wednesday evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Come say hi on the Discord if you're not there already. And to all the regulars, I will see you all probably in the morning. Have a good one. Catch you in a bit. Peace.